What's good, Vibers? Welcome to this quick guide on how to play Shiv in SUPERVIVE. And this is made for those of you that have never played this hunter before but would like to, and would also like to not completely suck super hard on your first game because you're still reading her abilities. So in this video, we're going to go through essentially the fundamentals of her kit, how her abilities work and work together, what equipment you should possibly look at, as well as potential powers. And so if you're looking to play Shiv, she is basically a extremely powerful like short range duelist. She has incredible DPS potential and reset potential with her dash. She has probably in the right situation some of the best 1v4 potential in the game, because of the heals she's getting from her passive and the resets she's getting on her cartwheel, and the simply just the amount of raw damage she can put out. And I think especially if you have any sort of omnivamp going or healing through buried or anything like that, you can really just put out like a relentless amount of damage, and that comes at a price. We have a short range, and so the price of our high burst is this short range and having to like close the gap to essentially like get that damage through, right? And we're also pretty squishy as well. We're just like an assassin like pumper basically, and so we don't have a ton of health. We are healing from our kills and knocks, and that combined with any sort of omnivamp or healing from powers is what's going to keep us going so we can continue to cartwheel blast anything on our way. So if you're looking to play like a short range, super fun, high skill cap assassin, I think Shiv is definitely one of the harder hunters in the game to not be like decent at, but to be really good at, because I think it's not too hard to get decent at her, but if you want to get insane at her, there's really kind of a big difference between those two players, and a huge part of that is how much you're actually hitting your shots. I think more than most characters, you're going to feel on Shiv the importance of connecting all your bullets, and especially that empowered bullet. So let's just like get into the kit and start talking about some of this stuff. So everything kind of revolves around this master assassin, or not everything, but a lot of things play into this master assassin. What's happening here, it's a pretty simple passive. Basically what this is doing is every time we're attacking the same enemy, we're getting this stacking damage buff. And we can see like at level 9, without any items, it's giving us 23 extra damage per stack. So if we take a look at what that looks like, see this little like red line? That is a stack of Master Assassin. And so it'll fall off after a few seconds. So let's see how long it is. It's like, call that 5 seconds maybe. So maybe I have like 5 seconds before these fall off. And you can see the damage number. See how it's basically scaling up by that 23 every time. And I'm not sure. I think the cap on this was like 9 stacks, but even in this advanced tooltip, it doesn't say anything about being capped. So they maybe removed that cap, where you can kind of stack these infinitely if you're hitting the same target infinitely, or as much as you're hitting as much as you can hit the same target. The main thing to keep in mind is these are like independent per target. So if you're doing it to this target, like you're gonna have to like restart your stacks on a new target over here. So that's kind of like leaning into the whole assassin vibes of the kit, is you're like wanting to like kind of single one person out, and once you've started on them, the longer you can stick on them, the higher your damage is going to ramp, based on that passive. And that brings us to her primary fire LMB, which are her pistols, her Arcslingers. And Shiv was actually my very first main in SUPERVIVE. I played a bunch of Shiv really early on, like 2 years ago, over 2 years ago probably now. So Arcslinger, Shiv fires a bolt from her pistol, dealing scaling damage, and applying 1 stack of Master Assassin. So like we just looked at, every shot of the pistol is going to apply a stack. You can actually hold LMB, and she's going to shoot at like her max fire rate. I don't necessarily recommend this because you're going to want to actually try to like position your shots better than just probably holding it. But if you're looking to like get out max DPS, you can definitely just hold it down if you're connecting. And again, the biggest thing to consider with her primary fire is it's like pretty short range, right? So we're going to have to get creative and do some interesting stuff to actually get in there and deal damage with this LMB. And she has a kit with this sort of resets and potential to where you can actually 1v4 if you are in the right situation and if you're good enough and if you're hitting your shots. And I think of the hunters available in SUPERVIVE, Shiv is going to be one of the ones that's going to, if you do successfully outplay, her kit's going to enable you to continue doing that more than other champions, thus if you're able to capitalize on her resets, I think you can get more 1v4 scenarios out of Shiv than you can on most of the other hunters. And so a huge portion of that is going to revolve around her quick flip, her shift, her dash. So on Shiv, you really want to think about the dash as being a huge part of her damage rotation. So basically, this is like almost like it's such a huge part of the kit. So every time you cartwheel, you're going to get this loaded quick flip shot. And basically what that is it's an empowered Arcslinger shot, and the range is going to be increased. It's going to deal significantly more damage. It's going to apply 2 stacks of that master assassin instead of 1, and it's going to have additional armor shred to targets struck in the outer range of it. So we can see if I cartwheel, see how the range is. Well, I guess it is the same range, sorry. So it's same range, but with the range increment, see how there's this little line right here? That's showing anything past that line is the armor shred. It does go a little bit further, I guess. But it's mainly the amped damage and the 2 stacks of Master Assassin and the armor shred. And the most important part of the whole thing is this second line, hitting an empowered shot resets quick flip. So basically what we're trying to do is cartwheel, not like that. That's what you don't want to do, because then you're dead. And that's why this champion, I think, does have such a sort of high skill cap, is hitting this next shot after a cartwheel is of vast importance, because that is what lets you cartwheel again. And you'll notice when you get that reset, it's not instant, but you can start to get this nice rhythm going. Where if you're basically, and so you want to be looking to connect the empowered shot in that outer range too, if possible. Definitely not like something to necessarily worry about, but something to consider is if you're hitting it in the back half, you're getting that armor shred as well. Okay, so that's your dash, and basically the rest of the kit is like to set up your dash. And so we have these chain bolas, and this is basically a ground. If you hit them and there's not someone else behind them, it's just gonna do a ground, which is basically like a little slow, and you can't dash if you're grounded. Where this is really going to be powerful is if there was another target. You can't really show it here, but if there's another target and you hit 2 people with the bolo, when you hit the second person, it's going to stun both of them. And so really the power of the bolo is when teams are like grouped up or clumped, or there's just chaos happening in the team fights. If you're able to get in there and get a good angle where you do connect a double bolo, you're going to get this nice line where they're just stunned in this line. And that is a perfect pen shot opportunity from your quick flip. So that's the other thing, is like you see my normal shot doesn't go through. This pens. So your quick flip, you can shoot through to the next target. So the ideal off the bola, like you cartwheeled in, you bola'd. With this charged shot, you're just going to pen through, both of them stunned. You're going to cartwheel again off that reset and pen them again. So basically, when you are able to connect the bola, you want to just follow it with 2 fatty empowered quick flip shots that are basically guaranteed or close to guaranteed on those stun targets, right? So bola just like a really good tool to basically set up more quick flip damage and more quick flip resets that are guaranteed because they're stunned. And then Farstep Dagger, our Q, is a very interesting way for Shiv to get in and out of fights, because we have such a short range and we're relying so much on this sort of like cartwheel reset to enable getting in and out of fights. Dagger is another way to do that. So we can go in with it, and if you throw it a certain distance, it'll hit the ground. But we can see after 6 seconds, I have to take it. There's no not taking the dagger. Wherever you throw it, you're going there. Right? And the only exception to that is if I just completely miss in the abyss, then it's just on cooldown and I don't go anywhere. So if you throw it over land, after a certain amount of time, it'll hit the land, and that's where you're headed in 6 seconds. You can also activate it early and just go there whenever. But you're going there. And so what that means is, especially if you are able to connect this to a target. Did I really just hit the ground in front of her? Like that strike's moving and you're gonna be going to her, and so you better be ready to rumble when you throw that dagger out, because the dagger is sort of like a double-edged sword where you're coming, you know, when you throw it, you're going there. And so the other thing you can do with it basically is if you're wanting to go in and pressure, you can throw it the other way. So you can put it behind you, go in, be crazy, do all signs of crazy stuff, and like, oh my God, I'm going this way, guys. Well, I'm gonna die. And then you're just like back to your dagger, right? Because you threw it in a safe spot. So we can use it offensively to go in, but a lot of times that can be like predicted. So like the safer way to use the dagger, and probably the more controlled way, is like using it before you're all in somewhere out of combat, and you know, basically being forced to take that. And the downside to that play is you're going to be going back to your dagger in 6 seconds. So if you have a successful entry and you're chasing someone and they're like about to die out here, and then you get ported back to your dagger, that's sad, right? So dagger, like a really interesting ability, and one of those ones that's like you want to just like use it to kind of get to practice using it and get the feel of it, because this is going to become, the more kind of like situations you get into with Shiv, the more you're going to kind of realize the potential of this Farstep Dagger, and the more kind of like use cases you're going to discover for it. And so I encourage you to just like start to experiment with this. If you're new on Shiv, just start, you know, throwing them and seeing what happens based on how you threw it. And that's going to like educate your experience so that, you know, you're like starting to throw them better and better scenarios based on what happens in the, you know, the first couple times you're throwing it. So yeah, we have the bolo to set up the dash punch, and we have the dagger to get in and out. Also, basically to, you know, set up the cartwheel DPS blasting. So it's like we got our quick flip blasting, and then we got these two abilities to kind of complement that, help us get in and out or set that up. And all that is brought together by our ultimate. I don't know how to say this word, Fusillade. Fusillade. I've literally never seen that word in my life, I don't think. So basically, this is an AoE ability where you're shooting at every enemy around you. So after a short delay, fire up to 5 shots at each nearby enemy for 2 seconds. So what this means is no matter how many enemies are near you, everyone's going to be getting the 5 shots. So the more the merrier for this ult, right? Each shot deals 42 plus 61 damage and resets the duration of all stacks of Master Assassin. Targets in the outer ring take additional bonus damage and are anti-healed, while active gain 2 charges of a weaker quick flip. So that's the other thing to keep in mind is you can actually like quick flip in ult, and like without even getting the reset, like your quick flips back and you can like do it again. And you can even like quick flip like during the ult. So it's like you can quick flip, ult, quick flip, and you're basically like quick flipping to try to position that outer circle, because you're basically wanting to hit as much in the outer circle as possible, right? And something interesting here to consider with the ult, and this is actually from Weedle and Venomous, 2 awesome Shiv players that I would recommend following if you don't already. They both have guides on Shiv, and I think they even did like one together that I would highly recommend. Like those are definitely more like you know, advanced guys from like longtime players that are certainly worth watching if you're interested in Shiv. But something they talk about in one of them is this ultimate, at least this is how it used to work. Imagine Shrike has a teammate behind her, like where I'm at right here, right? If I ult like this, Shrike's now getting hit with her 5 bullets, but because she's in a line with this target right here, the 5 bullets going to that target are also passing through Shrike. So another kind of subtle element that's not obvious with her ult is if the more targets you can line up, anyone on that outer range is not only getting hit with the outer circle, or anyone that's like in between the outer target and you is getting hit by not only their 5 shots, but the 5 shots going to that outer target. I hope that sort of like makes sense. So it's like when you're ulting one person, you're trying to line up that outer ring, right? But when you're ulting like a big group, not only you're trying to like, you know, maximize that positioning, but you're trying to like line up people so that like this Shrike is getting hit by not only her ult shots, but by also like all the shots going to that far person. And on top of all that, literally while you're ulting, you can be cartwheeling and LMBing. So like make sure when you ult, you're not stopping your LMB. See how I'm still LMBing like the whole time? Like whatever you're doing, like with your cartwheel and with your LMB, like keep doing it while you're ulting because it's all just extra damage that you're getting through. The ult's kind of just like happening on top. So that's Shiv's sort of ability kit and how it all synergizes together. Talking about items real quick, I think there's going to be a lot of this has changed literally just in the last month, like since I've gotten to play. And so this is going to be some preference too, but I think a really good option with Shiv most of the time is going to be Quick Blade as like the first kind of pickup. And so like these have all changed. Let's see. So like this one is brand new, Turbo Booster, and it's the recommended for her. After using a movement ability, gain 50 decaying move speed for 2 seconds. And that's probably going to feel really good with our dash, right? Where that's considered a move ability. So yeah. Um, so like Turbo Booster is going to just enable the dash even a little bit more because it's going to help us close that gap. And it's going to like, that's going to help us hit this. We're really trying to hit this cartwheeled shot, right? So now it's empowered. If we got that little bit of extra move speed, we have a better chance of, you know, kind of closing the gap or getting where we need to hit our target. So I think Turbo Booster, and that's built off of Quick Blade. So you want to look for a Quick Blade and then try to upgrade it into Turbo Booster. And I think baseline, that's going to be just like a good default option. These are kind of like, you know, what you can default to if you're not sure what to do. And this might have changed as well. And this is straight from Venomous playbook. So this is from like the literally the top Shiv I know, like the rank 1 player in the Steam Next Fest, like literally rank 1 on the leaderboards that I've ever run. This is what he used to do, Quick Blade Bladed Helm. And I don't know if he still does this, but it's a very good idea in theory, because basically what it's giving you is ability power, a little bit of extra survivability, and move speed. And you'll notice out of the items available, Bladed Helm is very unique because it's the only like hybrid tank damage item. So like we have, you know, like a tank utility item with mana regen. We have a tank utility item with ability haste. This is the only tank item with any sort of damage stat on it, ability power, but it also has move speed. And so it's got, you know, a lot of the really good things that Shiv likes. Yeah, and as I'm looking at these upgrade guys, this Perseverance upgraded for Bladed Helm actually sounds so insane for Shiv. After 3 seconds in combat, your next LMB on an enemy hunter heals you for 2%, damages them for 2%, and adds 3 permanent max HP. We're like Shiv's so often like up in the mix, like doing stuff, hitting people, where I think she could proc this a lot. So I think like a really good base item setup for just like what you can default to if you're not sure what to do on Shiv, that's going to feel pretty good, is Turbo Booster combined with Perseverance. And that's going to give you just a nice mix of survivability and damage, along with these the utility of this move speed and this kind of really cool like health scaling that's going to help you, you know, basically benefit more from your resolve, because if you can live and proc your resolve more, you're going to heal more from it the more you are alive, right? So Bladed Helm's an option. I think another option for Shiv could be Tech Blade instead of Bladed Helm. If you want to just go full pump, you can scoop this instead. I think of these, and just like we were looking at for Myth, I think this new Amplifier one can actually be kind of crazy style, because it does each ability you do in a row. So like imagine you're just doing your cartwheel. And now let's pretend I missed the reset. It's like going to shorten that. And then you're always going to want to get the biggest armor you can get. Armor is very important on Shiv. So, you know, besides maybe like your tank, your Kingpin, or your Oath or whatever, you want to convince your team to give you the biggest armor, because you're going to be in there in the shit trying to blow stuff up. And so you need it. So definitely try to prio, you know, gold armor when you can. And talking about powers real quick, like there's so many powers in this game, guys, that's really going to be your situational tool that you're going to use alongside your abilities based on what's happening in that specific game. So like your a bit like powers are literally 2 new abilities you can add to your kit. Like that's kind of what you want to think of them as. And so you want to situationally kind of mold that based on who's on your team, where you're at on the map, how you're trying to play it, what powers are available. Like you can't just grab any power you want. Like you're going to be finding them as you go, right? So they're not always going to be all available. So what you're constantly thinking about is like kind of like, you know, what's my team comp looking like? Like what's our win con? Like what are we trying to do to kill other teams or to, you know, achieve victory? And you know what powers am I passing by that can kind of complement my ability to do that. And just like default on flex, some incredibly strong ones are going to be Berry Eater, probably like the strongest power for dueling on a champion like this because of her ability to um, you know, be constantly like moving around through brush. What this does is like heals you as you move through brush. And so if it's still in here, an incredibly powerful combo that you should try to get if you are on Shiv is Green Thumb Berry Eater, because what this is going to let you do is maximize the full power of Berry Eater on command. So you're fighting, you're having this crazy battle, you're low on health. I just spawn all this bush and just eat it all as we're fighting. And now I'm back to full health and they're almost dead and I win, right? So I think power combos like Berry Eater, Green Thumb, incredibly strong on Shiv. She's also going to really benefit from like movement abilities. So like, you know, if you can find stuff like forest walking, or like rally is another really good one for her. The touch of speed, you know, these things that can kind of enable her to get in and out and activate her shots better, or to enable her, you know, assassination attempts. So like stealth cloak, bushwhacker, you know, things like that can be also very good for her to, you know, basically try to capitalize on her, you know, just like massive amount of surprise burst she's trying to, you know, deal as she opens up. Boom. That is my beginner's guide to Shiv. I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be trying to do this for all the hunters, but I'm starting with the ones I know really well. And Shiv is the OG Bay, and so had to do Shiv right after Myth. And I hope this helps you enjoy your first few games on Shiv more than you otherwise would have, because you at least have some semblance of knowing what's going on. And just cartwheel your ass off. Don't miss this shot. Hopefully it doesn't go nowhere like that one just did. And yeah, apparently you can't shoot bullets on this top platform, but or at all right now. Don't miss your quick flip. Hopefully it shoots. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care of yourself and keep vibing. Peace.